One of the fascinating parts about getting older is you really see a noticeable divide between previous generations and the younger generation in terms of their perception of things that they call reality that is clearly subjective versus what we call reality, which is also clearly subjective. And so it becomes almost impossible to have a meeting of the minds with some of these people, and maybe vice versa. I don't know, because the language, the literal language that we use means different things. I think that's what's going on with this Sony closing PSN store, basically referencing Sony saying, hey, we're shutting down some of the PS3, the PS Vita, the PSP stores. They didn't come out and say this, but presumably it's because no one's really using them and it costs money to keep those online. Well, the immediate knee jerk from a lot of online gamers is this is awful. It's terrible. We hate this, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So number one is if you really felt that way and if there were a whole bunch of y'all, this wouldn't be happening. Sony doesn't close things down because they're doing well. Drawn to Death is offline right now, not because it was a big success, but because nobody was playing it. Nobody was spending any money on it, right? So you can be upset that there's this thing you never used that's not there anymore, I suppose. But, you know, if you were running Sony, you'd do the same damn thing. You're burning money, and you could be spending it on new games, or you could be spending it on new aspects of PlayStation Network. And this is kind of relates to the Mario thing. Mario's dead on March 31st. Go buy it then. It's not like they pulled this out of their buttholes. They're giving you ample warning. If you want it, go buy it. I don't want to buy it. I just want to know it's there. And again, maybe this is a generational thing. I'm not joking with you. I mean, from my almost 50-year-old brain, I hear this and I go, my God, you're a bunch of fucking whiny babies. But maybe a younger generation that grew up with a great deal of anxiety about everything from terrorism to school shootings to pandemics to racial upheaval. Perhaps they're like, look, you know, we need more Linus comfort blankets than your generation did, old man. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. And maybe that's where this is coming from. Because when I hear it, I just go, then buy it, right? And then the other one that really confuses me is this idea of, oh, well, it's going against preservation. Sony doesn't care about preservation. Motherfucker, they're not suggesting they're going to take the store down and then go through and just wave a huge industrial strength magnet over all the servers and hard drives that contain the games. They're not deleting them. Newsflash, Mario isn't really going to be taken out back behind the Nintendo headquarters and shot in the head in the end of March. They're just taking it off the store. They're not deleting those games. So the idea that it's a preservation issue, I think they're using the term wrong. It is an access issue, but access, I mean, there's a lot of things I don't have access to right now that I know still exist. You can only see the real Mona Lisa in one place, and most people have to spend a lot of money and fly there and get tickets and wait in line. And my guess is with the pandemic, you probably can't even go to the Louvre right now. So the idea that, oh no, I can't play now. I can. I'd love to get Ubisoft's numbers on Scott Pilgrim, the game that everyone was like, but what about Scott Pilgrim? Well, you know, they just put out Scott Pilgrim. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen that in the top 10 for more than maybe a day or 2 days of digital downloads. But there you go. You got your precious Scott Pilgrim back. It's not as if you couldn't go online and look at Scott Pilgrim. Yeah, it's like, well, games are meant to be played. I can go online and see the Mona Lisa, but it's the same thing. Well, I'm sure Da Vinci would have told you it's not the same thing. You can't see the resolution. You can't see the brush strokes, the actual brush strokes. You can't get right up next to the painting and say, that was the canvas that Leonardo da Vinci touched. But sure, it's more similar looking at a picture than watching a video of a game being played, looking at a completed non-interactive picture. Acquiesce, yes, you're not wrong on that. But it doesn't mean the game isn't being preserved. It means the game, if you don't act, currently is probably unavailable to you at the moment. Will that give rise to piracy for some people? I guess, sure. So, I mean, think about this horseshit statement. And this is maybe the reason there's such conflict between me and some of these people online. It's like, the statement is bullshit. I am of the mind that I would rather them just say, it's like, don't wrap it in horseshit. Just own it. Go, you know what? I don't like when companies take things away from me. I have been raised not to trust companies. My dad, my mom was laid off constantly from these companies that were supposed to have loyalty to them. I don't trust these motherfuckers. I see how they totally fuck 99% of the world with their obsession with wealth, and I don't like them. And that's what I'm really talking about. I'm right there with you. But say that. But don't wrap it in this other noble cloak of it's really about game preservation. Really? Is it? Why? Why is you personally owning Scott Pilgrim or you personally owning any of the Mario games that are going away in March going to help preserve the game? Do you donate some of your paycheck every month to the video game museums all over the world to make sure that they have the money to keep design documents and fly around the country and the world and do interviews with game developers to talk about their experience? Are you reaching out on Twitter to people like David Crane and Gary Kitchen who basically created or were key in creating the 2600 era, which are the foundations upon which the current industry is? You don't get Last of Us Part 2 without Adventure or without Pitfall. Are you engaged with those people? Are you asking them questions before they die? Are you recording their testimony? If not, shut the fuck up. And I don't mean that because you don't have a right to be annoyed that companies feel like they're fucking you every turn. I get that. But then just say that. You don't need to dress it up. Just fucking say what you need to say. This is not an anti-preservation move. If it was, and if you really feel that way, find some money and buy the fucking thing. But I don't have enough money. Okay, that's fine. Then you know what? If you don't have enough money to go buy an $8.99 copy of Patapon for your Vita, you at the moment, you got bigger problems than game preservation. That's all I'm saying.